evening. Throughout my teaching career, I guess I can say I've had some pretty funny things happen to me. You can't always know what students are going to say or do. And as Art Linkletter is famously remembered for, kids say the darndest things. You can't predict the spontaneity of children any more than you can predict the innocence of a child. I remember one time throughout a religion lesson, and in fact several religion lessons, we were discussing baptism. So of course you spend several days talking about that, explaining it, giving examples, even to the point of having the students bring in pictures of themselves and paraphernalia related to their baptism. And at the end of the unit, of course, there's always that infamous test. And one grade 6 student in, writing what baptism was, towards the end of his explanation, he says, "And the Prime Minister pours water over your head and gives you your name." Well, obviously, that student had little notion or little idea of what minister was in relation to church or religion. I would say John Cretchen, who was minister at the time, would have been pretty proud to have been honored like that in a grade 6 classroom. Another time, during a health lesson on nutrition, a student asked me, in some way, we had been talking about diets as in the type of food you eat, and a student asked me, "Miss, were you ever on a diet?" And I said, "No." He said, "Come on, miss, some kind of diet. You must have tried something." And I said, "Well, yes, seafood diet, a seafood, and I eat it." Well, this seemed to satisfy the student as he grinned and didn't have any further questions, so off we went. A couple of months later, during a discussion again, during a health lesson, I made some comment about I had never been on a diet. And this student said, "Oh, wait now, miss, you were on a fish diet." I said, "Me? A fish diet? Never. I mean, I like fish, but I've never been on a fish diet." And I was puzzled, and the student could tell, and he seemed upset and disappointed that I couldn't remember. And I said, "Look, honey, sorry, but you must have me confused with somebody else, because I've never been on a fish diet." "Miss, yes, you were. You called it that seafood thing, seafood diet." And I started to apologize and said, "Well, I'm sorry I don't remember," because by this time he was pretty upset. "I'm sorry I don't remember." And then, bang, it hit me like a ton of bricks. What I had said and how I had responded to his question, "Miss, were you ever on a diet?" "Well, a seafood diet, a seafood, and I eat it." So he took that literally. And kids will. You have to watch every word you say, because they listen, they take you literally, and it's very important how you express yourself. They're innocent little minds. Recently, I had a student pay me a compliment. And I must say there was no frivolity involved. It was done in a very sincere and honest manner and respectful. But I was absolutely shocked and appalled at the language that was used. I certainly wasn't comfortable with it, and needless to say, the look on my face said it all. The other students looked at me, eyes open, their mouths open. But throughout it, I remained calm, cool, and collected. And I said, I must have misunderstood or misheard what the student said, so I asked him again if he could repeat what he had said. Of course he did, and there was no doubting that what I had heard the first time was what was actually said and what was said the second time. The student paid me a compliment, and like I said, in a very sincere, respectful manner, and I was wearing this jacket, and he happened to say to me, he said, "Miss, I like your jacket, it's a nice color, it's pimped." Like he would say it now. I'm not comfortable with it. Anyway, I said to the student, I'm not sure I understand what you mean. So of course he went on to explain it means cool, really cool, miss, it's awesome. I said, okay, if that's what it means. And I said, where did you hear that? And he told me that his cousin told him what the word meant and used it. And this is a cousin I had taught some years back. So I said, okay, very good, thank you. And we moved right on with the lesson. Of course, the minute class was over, I had to go out to Google what the word pimped meant, and it really meant that. Well, I got definitions I didn't expect to get and that I knew nothing about, because I knew about that word in, the negative sense. A medical student, for example, can be pimped prior to getting accepted into med school, i.e. questioned to the point of breaking. When vehicles like Lee's car there are jazzed up, they're pimped out. We here at Toastmasters can pimp up our meeting, and in fact we did that last week with our humorous speech contest. Anyway, I still didn't feel good about it. I didn't know how I felt. I was kind of hurt. I was confused. I was sad. I was mad. I didn't know what I felt. It just wasn't good. It didn't sit right with me. So I called the guidance counselor, whom this student sees on a regular basis, and the principal, and asked them what they thought of it. They were kind of surprised. But anyway, off we went, and a short time later the student came down to the office, and the guidance counselor was there with me, and he said, "Nice jacket, nice color." And I said, "Funny you say that." I said, "Because one of my students mentioned that a little while ago, and I think it was..." And before I could finish it, this young man interjected and said, "Oh, that was me. Mrs. Jacket, I really like it. It's pimped." Again, I said, not comfortable with it. "What did you say that word meant again?" And he said, "Miss, it's cool, really cool, awesome." Okay, the story was the same. He was consistent. Kids do say the darndest things. Anyway, time has passed. I'm still not comfortable with the word and how it's used, but apparently today the word pimped is used to mean cool and awesome. So, Kevin, I guess we can say, I can conclude that the certificates you do for us here at Toastmasters are pimped. Allie, the videos you put on YouTube of our speeches are pimped. And hey folks, me here in my pink jacket, I'm pimped. Cool, that is. You never know what will come out of the mouths of babes. Mr. Toastmaster.